Hi diddly ho, it is moi. Today I thought I'd do a video about how I go about creating comics, or at least one page of a comic, or which you could expand into a story just by making it longer. But this is how it basically goes. Usually, if you're working for someone else, you'll get a script. Cover the name up so we don't know what it is. In the past, this is kind of a script I work from, and you'll get, as you can see, panel 1, character names, what they're saying, and a brief description of what they're doing in each panel, facial expressions, or the feeling or mood or emotion of said page. Usually I will thumbnail roughly what I think by reading it here, each panel, what I'd like to do, whether I think it needs big space, small space, etc. And I'll do that on the entire script, okay? But basically, if you're doing it yourself, you've got to come up with the whole inception, which starts in sketchbook. So basically, lots of doodling, and different characters and silly ideas come up throughout it. But then you might get one where you go, who is this guy? I like him. What would we call him? Oh, a rough name. Let's call him that. And then you like the way he looks or the feel of him. So you think, I'm going to expand him. So you do more drawings of him. You know? Little ideas. What would he look like without a mask? How did he find the mask? Maybe it was like that on the pedestal in the Amazon or something. And he's got a brother who's an archaeologist or something. You start toying around with ideas. And then basically you're gonna maybe jot down, oh yeah, you're basically gonna develop that idea as much as you can simply by drawing him, redrawing him, thinking of like different characters that might be with him, and start building a world around him. Basically is what I does. And oh, come on, why don't pages turn? Then maybe he's got other characters that he fights or he's friends with, and you basically start building a world, okay? I'm just going to give you a bit more of that. So yeah, different moody faces, or him in action. What does he look like if he's doing this, or has he got a tail? Or what does he look like when he jumps, and things like that. And character concepts. And other bad guys maybe fights and how they could look. Building his world. Friends or advisors. Fist bump. Off with the jetpack. You know, building his world. And then once you've kind of got used to the idea of him and his world, start writing it down. Like the premises of his world and how he's come about. Names and stuff. Great Protector, Mikey. I didn't call him Mike in the end, I called him Alex. Mikey sounded very cheesy and Americanized, so I changed him. But yeah, so you start building a world around him. Then I started laying it out like you saw in the other script. Panel 1, panel 2, panel 3, panel 4. This I just started with a one-page joke, kind of one-off story about him. I didn't know whether I wanted to expand it into a full story, so I just did this for now to see how I felt about him. But yeah, and like say, dialogue in each panel, what dialogue's in each panel. And usually I don't write my own direction in it, because in my head I already know what the direction's going to be. If you're writing for a script for someone else, like on the script I showed you at the beginning, you're going to put, if you're passing it to an artist, you're going to put direction in it, because you've got it in your head of how you want it to look. But because it's already in my head, I don't need to give myself direction. So it's just the dialogue that I put for each panel, and then like I'll rough out panels in pencil, right? So then we hop from sketchbook, which I'll keep at the side of me so that I know what I'm doing, right? So there I'll have the sketchbook here to one side, and then I'll start roughing it out in pencil. And usually after doing that, I'll look at it or come back in an hour and think, that's crap. This isn't the actual pencils for that I've just shown you. It's something else. And then you rub it out, change it and change it and change it. And then what usually happens for me is I'll ink it, right? And I'll ink it and I'll think, yeah, I'm done, I'm finished. And I'll look at it and think, actually, there's too many words here. I don't like how wordy that is. Or I'd like this bit to be bigger. So that means that can be smaller, that can be smaller, that can be pushed up, that could be smaller with less words, etc., etc. And so then after that, now this one I'm happier with. And if you compare and contrast, whoopsie, if you compare and contrast, it is neater, but the way it flows at the top, it's kind of better. I've fitted 3 panels where I only had 1. You know, just that 2 at the top, 1, 2. You got 3 across the top and that one there. Because that was taking up a lot of room, whereas I've got the same information across with less wording and taking up less room, so that the main focus, which is what I wanted it to be, was this, but it wasn't getting the main focus. It was just all words, which I think to anyone's going to look at that and think, I'm not reading that. So when there's less words, you're more likely to think, oh, I'll give this my time and look at it. And so that this took up more room and was more of a boom and had his name as there, his name, it's getting lost in amongst all this mess of words. Whereas here, it's much more bam, and then you can see what his name is just by briefly looking. You can look at it and go, I know what his name is. And less words. And then these characters aren't getting as jumbled into the corner there. This guy's getting more of an action shot, and he's not mixed in with, and he's not hiding at the back so much, you know. It's more like boom, he's down here and he's in the centre and he's got more, and it's clear, more clear. The wording's more, instead of fitting in around them, that's more haphazard and messy. And like, he was squeezed in there, so you don't get the idea of what he's about, and him either. You can't even see his feet or anything. Whereas here, he's much more, if you compare and contrast, even the size, you can tell by looking at that. Look at it there. Right there. Tiny, 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 tiny. Tiny, tiny, tiny. You look at him there, you look at him there. Boom! Much more descriptive, and you got the jet coming out the back, so you know it's a jetpack without me arrowing it there like I did saying jetpack. You get the idea more. And his name's boom there instead of just squeezed in there. And there, I mean, he's okay because he's very central, but I think that's more of a kapow, like he stood there going, check me out. And him, much more funny there than he is there, like he's squeezed in as a side joke almost. And then the bottom panel, the one at the end, it's very similar because I kind of liked it. I changed the way that guy looked. And I made him more deflated and disappointed, which gave way to do a nice little emoji thing. Whereas there you got this gap. So I like space fillers. So you fill the space. Wordings, there's less wording. I think I cut it down so it's not as wordy. So I tend to do that if I'm not careful. But yeah, and his face gives more of a description of what the, you know what I mean, are you doing? So yeah, that is my process of comic pages from from sketchbook doodlings to scriptage to the penciling to then a messy inked out page where I think I'm finished, and I come back the next day, look at it and think that's awful, and then redrawn and rewritten with that next to me so I can keep checking the mistakes I've done and what I want to shorten and what I don't. Like, I probably even rewrite it. And yeah, to this, which I'm now much happier with. Like, if I tried to redraw that now and make it better, I don't think I probably could. I'd probably overwork it, overdo it, and it wouldn't be as good. So yeah, that is basically my guide to how I do comics. I could call the video I did do comics. So yeah. Cheers, guys. Bye.